It's important to eradicate racism. Being silent perpetuates racism as complicity allows oppressors to continue. I attended community college almost 20 years ago and disheartened to see that the same racism that I experienced is no different than what students at Palomar College continue to experience. Structural and systemic racism is not always explicit and seen. However, I challenge you to critically evaluate the education sector and see what you can do to transform, reconstruct, and decolonize a system that is meant to support all students. The opinions expressed in this presentation are solely those of student speakers at Palomar College. The collective narratives are intended for educators, community members, and students to listen, learn, reflect, and take action for social justice and anti-racism.
As a student of Palomar College and a member of Phi Theta Kappa, I would like to express a huge thank you for watching this important video. Phi Theta Kappa is currently the largest honor society for two-year institutions. As part of the experience of being a student in Phi Theta Kappa, there's what we call a college project. The college project involves some type of event or activity that benefits the college community as a whole. This year, with the unfortunate killings of Black lives, Palomar College Phi Theta Kappa is collaborating with PCTV to create a video regarding racism and taking a stand for anti-racism at the college level. In the next segments, you will hear the experiences of Palomar College students. As a student in Palomar College Phi Theta Kappa, it's extremely disheartening to see fellow students go through these experiences in our education system. These segments were developed to shed light on these said experiences so that we may move forward with this information and provide better examples and outcomes for our students.
Hello, my name is Gerald. I am a combat vet from Iraq. I have been on plenty tours, so I know what combat is. Combat is something that is strongly urged to fight negative. The combat against racism is something that should be fought every single day. There's no place in this campus, in this place, in this world for racism. Being anti-racism means that you're part of a group and a structure that is positive, that is strong for future people to come, which means that our children will teach their children, which will teach their children the history of us. And when we come from a history of us, of combating anti-racism and negative people to stop growth. So what we're here to do today is we're here to come together as one and fight racism. There's no place in this place on this campus. There's no place for racism. There's no place in this world, in this state, in this city. There's no place in the heart for racism. So as we combat racism together, we become a part of a brotherhood that is all together familiar as combat vets. As a combat vet, you're combat against racism. Thank you.
I stand with this project that PTK is doing, which is standing with stopping racism on campus, because it's something that has been going on for several years now, and no one should be discriminated against for their ethnicity or race. In my personal experience, I remember until this day that in elementary school, my friend and I were speaking in Spanish, and one of the teachers told us that we shouldn't be speaking Spanish on campus because this is America and we should be speaking English, and that is the language. And then I didn't stand up for myself because I was naive and never thought of it as something bigger racist. And being honest, I don't think I even knew that the definition, I didn't even know the definition of racism. But now that I think of it, it was a racist comment coming from a teacher that is supposed to be educating us. And this needs to stop because it's affecting not only me, but others that have a different color of skin, but those of color. But in reality, we are equal no matter skin color or ethnicity. Thank you.
For years, I have suffered from anti-Semitism. For those who are unfamiliar with what anti-Semitism is, it means hostility to or prejudice against the Jewish community. My experience with anti-Semitism traces back to when I first started middle school. My peers would say damaging anti-Semitic jokes about the Holocaust or tease with hurtful stereotypes of my people. There isn't a joke or stereotype that I haven't heard throughout my educational career. After high school, I was relieved. I figured that the anti-Semitic remark days were behind me due to the fact that I'll be surrounded by mature adults. I was deeply mistaken. I'll share my most recent anti-Semitic experience. It happened the summer before the pandemic. I went out with a few friends to dinner, and we ate at the Olive Garden that night, and for the most part, it was really fun. Right before our food arrived, one of my friends asked me if I was Jewish. I replied yes. He then began to tell a joke. I told him, before you say anything, I don't find Jewish jokes or dark humor funny. He continued on his joke regardless of what I said, and told me, my grandfather passed away in the Holocaust. He fell off the guard tower. I had lost all my appetite because I was so disappointed. I had lost the majority of my family to the Holocaust. My great-grandfather was a Holocaust survivor and would force my mom to listen to horrific events that he witnessed and experienced so that she can pass it on to her kids. After he finally stopped laughing at his own joke and saw that I was offended, he said, "Hey, don't take it personal. I'm the same way with Black, Mexican, and Asian people. Sorry, I just love dark humor." At that moment, I'd realized that he is not my friend, comforting me by telling me that you're not only anti-Semitic, but that you are also racist is not an apology. That man was 26 years old. I was very wrong to believe anti-Semitism and racism ends in high school. It continues every day. Without our voices, it will never end. I do not tolerate any form of racism, and neither should you.
As a Latino person, I would like to share with you my experience with racism in this country. I think it's important for us to all recognize that racism is present in this country, and even though it might not be explicit racism, there are certain implicit racist attitudes that we have. And I think my experience of being at school and having someone randomly ask me with no context if I was from Mexico and kind of press the question and me be confused and not really know how to respond highlights racist attitudes in our country, because I don't have a Latin accent. I think the only indicator of my Latinness is how I look and my name, Diego, right? But this person immediately assumed I wasn't from America. He actually specifically assumed I was from Mexico, right? I think that highlights that in America, we believe that being American is synonymous with being white. And I think we would all agree that's kind of a racist thing to assume, right? So I think if we want to continue to strive for equality and anti-racism and the like, we would have to disassociate being American from being white and make this society less racist and less implicitly racist.
I always thought we were not racist. In my family, racism was an invisible thing. We didn't talk about racism. We didn't learn how to intervene when people were being harassed by the police. We were no friends of police, but we were taught to look down, to look away, to not get involved. People like us are why others get beaten in the streets and nobody is held accountable. We never said anything overtly racist to anyone or in front of anyone of color, so therefore we weren't racist, right? But I come from a white privileged background, an affluent area. My grandparents were not overtly racist. My grandfather served in the Marine Corps at Iwo Jima and tended to treat everyone as individuals. He did most of my rearing, but my mother, now I know she was racist. The first time I dated a beautiful Black man, out came the sly connotations. Unfaithful, different, a poor choice in mate is what she inferred. Racism is everywhere. It exists in the queer community, which has so openly accepted me. How do I address the racism in myself? How do I reprogram myself to be more inclusive and stand up for others in a proactive way? Being out here in California, going to college, educating myself has become a priority of the utmost importance. It is not the place of any people of color to educate me on what must be done. That emotional labor should only come with compensation. There is so much work to do. I am only one person, but I can start with myself. White silence is violence.
I am an international student from Japan, and currently I'm attending Palomar College. I love this country because of its diverse culture and how each and every person has their own unique background. I am able to meet people and do things I never thought possible. However, at the same time, I realized people often judge others by race. Living in this country is definitely not easy, and I got a lot of judgment in the short time I've been here. Some people have said to me ruthless words because of my race when I was just walking down the street. Some people stopped communicating with me because I had an accent in English even when I need their help. Also, some people call me by my country name instead of calling my name. I have a name that my parents gave me. I am not Japan, I am my own person, and being called that objectifies me to a singular image, my home country. People judge me because of my race before they understood who I am as a person, which made me sad, and I feel like I don't have any power and people reject my existence. I want to live as a growing and changing person, but I get stereotyped into what people see me as, and it has made it hard for me to accept my identity and something that is beyond my nationality. But even though I'm not an American citizen, I believe everyone has an equal opportunity to speak up about the problem of discrimination and define what is right and what is wrong. I'm here today to stand up to racists, fight against racism, and tackle injustice. As a student at Palomar College, I'd like to say that each person needs to take a step back and rethink your behavior towards people who have different color skin or nationality. We are all humans who are trying to find their own individual identity and cannot be grouped to a small category of stereotypes and behaviors. We are not representation of our government or our past, but we have to work together to ensure that we can create a future that is welcoming for everyone. It might be hard to change someone's belief, but at the very least, everyone can still have the awareness to accept others and enhance the power of anti-racism and consciously take action to support each other. I believe each person has the power to contribute creating a movement on this beautiful campus. We are part of a growing, diverse, and accepting generation, and it is time for all of us to step up the plate and help this school, this country, and this world change. Thank you.
Disclaimer: be advised this speech is intended for those con un corazón y mente abierta, those with an open heart and mind. Let us begin by putting our right hand over our heart and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I beg your pardon. First, allow me to remind you that we live in a multi-dimensional world, prominent to the many dimensions in existence. The past, the present, and the future furiously roar. Two are pure illusions that are the past and the future. As a proud Toltec descendant and Mexicano, I can say that within the past and present, I have not lived under one nation under God, but a subset of nations under hate towards la gente de color, people of color. Con todo el corazón y respeto a mis amigos conservativos, with all the love and respect to all my conservative friends. If any of my words sting, I would like to make you an invitation to ask yourself why. It's not about the words I uttered. It's not about me. And most importantly, it's not about la gente de color, the people of color. It's a deeper dilemma that I would attest to is something personal. How can one bring change without first identifying the problem? First off, oppression describes a set of policies, practices, traditions, norms, definitions, and explanation discourses which function to systemically exploit one social group to the benefit of another social group. Furthermore, racism is a form of oppression in which one racial group dominates over others. Look around you. How can students of color view themselves as administrators or professors, especially in STEM-related fields where there are very few faculties that look like them, have lived, and truly felt their experiences? That bullshit saying I have been told a million times, you have to pull yourself by your bootstraps. It's a smooth process to do that when the system favors you based on your skin color and place of origin. As for the person of color, pulling yourself by the bootstraps means running your fingers through the straps only to find thorns in every inch. In my first semester at Palomar, I was ridiculed and culturally invalidated. In a reading class, we were asked to bring one new word we had learned. Kimo sabe was the word. Eagerly, I was eager to raise my hand, only to hear the professor say, "That's not a word, it's a slang term," followed by laughter waves coming from every direction, including the professor. I was silenced. My beautiful ignorance told me that we're just making fun of me. But years later, I would discover this was a form of microaggression. In 2016, Trump takes over and begins a race war. Really? Did he really begin a race war? He did not. What is done in the dark will always find a way to shine. Los racistas, the racists, were only waiting to come out. It was time. After being stripped from my human identity in the hands of the federal government, I kept going. only to land in the hands of a white professor who made comments like, "Go back to whoever taught you algebra." I am not going to answer that question. Shutting that beautiful African-American woman in front of the whole class. She never asked another question. Further and fueled by anger, he yelled, "There is such a thing as a stupid question in my class. You do not ask stupid questions." 90% of the class were students of color. Even our counterpart, non-colored colleagues experienced this form of oppression. Together, we all made it out. It was beautiful. If you do not like what you heard, change the way you hear. If you do not like the way you see, change the way you see. If you do not like the way you feel, change the way you feel. Disconnect from your mind. And as my Aztec ancestor said, del corazón a la mente, from the heart to the mind. While we live in a multi-dimensional world where illusion is present, let us live in illusion, meaning let us live in the future by creating a better world in this present moment. How? Let's end this racism. Living in the moment is key. As professors and administrators, you guys are the liberadores de la gente que ha sido oprimida, the liberators of the people that have been oppressed. If you are not here to make a better world, I heard Google and Amazon are hiring. They pay well. Please change careers. And to the system, you ain't gotta like us, but you're gonna respect us.